welcome to the Living Hope Thought for the Day. And today's thought for the day comes to us from the prophecy of Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 7. The Lord said to me, "Do not say I'm too young. You must go to everyone I send you to and say whatever I command you. Do not be afraid of them, for I am with you and will rescue you, declares the Lord." Jeremiah is sometimes described as the weeping prophet. Jeremiah is sometimes thought of as the one who was thrown into the pit. He's the one who had the boldness to speak the truth, but people rejected it and didn't want to know. Jeremiah has a pretty tough life. He's the one who brings us that wonderful reassurance that God has plans for us with a future and a hope and not for evil. But I'm picking up in particular the early part of the prophecy of Jeremiah and the way in which he feels so young, so inadequate, and just wonders whether he's up for the task that God seems to be calling him to. And we can see that the Lord says, "But before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you to be a prophet to the nations." Don't say I'm too young. Simply recognize, if I've called you, I will equip you, I will strengthen you, I will enable you to do the work that I'm calling you to do. And this prophet, he will step up to the mark. He will take on the task. And he will bring, over his years of prophecy and ministry, words that will indeed, yes, sometimes upset people. He's calling the people back to God. Perhaps another prophecy that we will well remember is him going into the potter's house. And he's watching the potter at work, and he's seeing how the potter starts to shape the clay. And if it seems to go awry and isn't going to be the shape he wants, he just wraps it all up again and starts again until he forms what he's really after. And this sense of Jeremiah, yes, you're young, but I'm going to use you. I'm going to fashion you. I'm going to take you as a clay vessel, as an earthly vessel. I'm going to take you. I'm going to shape your life. And I'm going to bless you. Of course, Jeremiah is also the prophet who introduces us to the whole concept of a new covenant. That God's going to do a covenant he's going to write on our hearts. Not just give us tablets of stones to look at, but to actually do something deep within. But all of what he prophesies is really very much related to, I believe, to his own walk with God. And it's addressing in the earliest of stages, I am called by God. God has a purpose and a plan for me. And therefore, he is able to say, I will not be afraid, because the Lord will rescue me. Look what we read in verse 10 of Jeremiah 1. "Today I appoint you over nations and kingdoms, to uproot and tear down, to destroy and to overthrow, to build and to plant." Jeremiah reminds us that there is a destructive, there is a negative, as it were. There is a matter of addressing what is wrong, which is never easy. But it's always very, very implicit that when we live with God, he's not just going to point out the mistakes. He's also going to lead us and point towards the future. There is a building as well as a tearing down. There are things to get rid of as well as things to adopt. Let us seek to follow the call that God has put upon our lives, regardless of who we think we are. Let us be who God says we are. God bless you.